Hello and welcome back to round 2 coverage of the 2024 Copenhagen Open. Our MPO lead card will be taking on the back 9 in a really exciting spectacle. We've reached the halfway point of the tournament, and from here on out, the holes will dwindle and the pressure will mount. This is MDG Media. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
Hello Connor, nice to be here for the back 9, which is very scoreable. A little bit more open, I feel, than the front. At least you have some more opportunities for the birdies. Most of the easiest holes on the course are gonna be on the back, and hope to see some hot rounds from our card that didn't have the hottest of starts, to be honest. 4 under being the leading score for the front 9 from Ulibarri on our group, although the rest of the field is absolutely destroying the course right now.
Yeah, and it's really a shooter's course here. A lot of birdies to be had.
And hole number 10 starting off the back 9 with a scoreable but not very parkable hole. Hole number 10, 111 meters. The main obstacle on this hole are those early trees on the left and right side, shaping up for a straight to hyzer backhand. And other than that, this big tree at the end of the shot, just before the basket, that's really tough to get under if you go high at all, but also tough to skip. This hole doesn't really skip that much.
Yes, you really need a piercing shot that hits the height window correctly. Just as we saw there, a nice flex under the low ceiling from Jakub. And Daniel now also looking to shape this backhand. I think a lot of overstability in the disc choice. Try to encourage as much ground play as you can, but that is the most common result there.
Yeah, that is exactly the part on the hole that's not really offering a lot of skips. So touchy to get the disc up in the air enough to fly all the way to the basket. As Lauri a little bit inside there, clipping one of the trees. He's gonna have no look for the birdie with that late low ceiling.
And Paul now has a lot of height on this Anheuser release, and I think he knew from the hand this is likely going to combat the ceiling, but comes in strong on the hyzer and kicks out to an open position. He'll be left circle 2.
Yeah, this hole is surprisingly not the most often birdied hole. As you know, I feel like that late treat really does make it so difficult to get into circle 1. 63% of the field getting a par here, and only a third getting the birdie. So a hard hole to bogey, but with the birdie you can get some strokes on the field.
Paul just off the top, and I think it is a great example of that Valby Park style golf. Very technical. You need specific windows that you need to hit. Really shape shots accurately on all angles. And we go to Jakub now. Came in really hot with the drive and is able to put that in for his birdie. Well done.
Yep, his putt is looking clean. I believe last year, that was also one of the things that kept him back sometimes. He was throwing the disc just amazingly, but this year he has really improved that putting and his stroke is looking clean.
I mean, he is a former putting world champion. Really solid on the circle 1s as well as the aggressive step putts, puts them on tight lines and spins it in when he's on. He's certainly one of the best, as we see both Jakub and Lauri walking away at 11 under here after this hole. And speaking of 11, we see here par 4, 130 meters, this tight tunnel off the tee on both sides. Players will need to try and throw it through this triple mando, funneling them into these very tight gaps. It then softly bends to the right. Any shot that gets anywhere near the edge of the tree line will allow them a look into this guarded green, but without too much distance on this par 4. It's really about making good progress and hitting the mando on the first shot that often determines what sort of score you might be getting.
Yeah, quite a scrambly hole. rarely you are in the perfect position, although this shot does have the potential, but as you can see there, a little bit inside, you really need to push the forehand far and straight, kind of where our cameraman is standing right here. So if you want the cleanest look for the second shot, you really need that straight forehand that finishes at the very end.
Speaking of straight shots, Daniel right up the pipe. Gonna have just a short lateral look into the green.
That's a nice line from Lauri there, challenging the left side of the Mando, opening up the fairway as wide as he can after hitting the Mando. And even though he hit a tree at the very end, that should be no problem to get up and down for the birdie from there. Let's see, Paul here, also a nice flat with an overstable finish. He's jumping through the trees there, so that's also an ideal position. Another way to play this hole is that early hyzer through the Mando and to the right.
And we go to Jakub now. Off the knee, shaping a forehand approach. Comes in soft into the circle. Leaves him with about 7 or so to the putt. We see Lauri here with a good look. I think going to swing it out wider with a more overstable flight. Chooses the biggest gap and beautifully done.
Easy work there. He will use that as some momentum to get his round going. Let's see, Paul here, very clean approach. Smooth backhand there, landing the disc soft. No more than 5 meters left. And Daniel to finish out the flawless played hole by the card. That is just perfect. We have a chance to see a star frame here on hole number 11.
And Jakub, good for the putt to kick us off. Longest of the bunch there.
And it's a hole that, as a top player, you really want to birdie. Over half of the field is taking a birdie on this hole. And while there are so many birdies to be had here, there are also the most bogeys besides just 2 holes on this hole. So it's more often bogeyed than every other hole besides 2 holes. So interesting, a lot of swings there, as potentially also on hole number 12. Not the most open of par 4s. You have a very tight gap off the tee, which you have to hit with either a forehand, backhand, or even a roller. Some people going around the outside with a huge anhyzer. And when you've made your way through the gap or into the open field of the tee, it's pretty much a nice backhand turnover or a forehand hyzer over some bushes. Second shot is much easier than the first. This is where the money is made.
We see Jakub playing the overstable driver forehand through the biggest gap, and he's positioned himself nicely, but will have a long distance by nature of choosing that leftwards drive. Daniel going for this low gap, and unfortunately that roller gets caught up, but does lay down out in the open. Certainly could be a lot worse. We will see Lauri here go for the sky anhyzer, whereas Jakub took the low line. Lauri goes over the top end. Look at that long flight, even rolling back into a nearly perfect position.
Yeah, well done there, and good angle control to land it on that anhyzer, not to glide too far to the right to be out of the fairway. Let's see the roller here from Ulibarri. Good angle control. He's going to be more inside, so more of a blind approach, and he will have to cut the corner a little bit with that high forehand, or at least play it, tighter to the corner.
We'll see Daniel up first here. Did not clear the initial gap, so is left very far from the pin. The sky Annie here over the left side rough gets caught. He will be in some sort of small jail there, but good scrambler Daniel is. And we'll see Jakub now, a straighter look, trying to flex this down the tunnel.
Yeah, Yeah, just fading out there, hitting the left side bushes. You really need to commit from that far back. For example, where Lauri is a much shorter shot, he's able to go with just a forehand hyzer. That's a well thrown shot, just needs to stay left of the bushes. And he has done so in the circle. That should be no problem for the birdie from about 8 meters.
Even sending it long off the basket, pretty uncommon here after 2 shots. Paul as well at a tight angle opts to throw this big forehand hyzer and spikes it in near the green. I think just a few meters off the perfect width. Will be left with a short but obstructed look. We see Daniel scramble here from his position, and well done to use what he had available to him there.
Yeah, good scramble there. I'm sure he wanted to have that that birdie on the hole, with him being a good roller thrower off the tee and also a good forehand thrower on the second shot. Jakub also with the long run, not quite to be there. Let's see if Lauri can get it.
The downhill putt there. If he were to send that with a bit too much power, could have really disappeared, and I think a tentative putt from him as a result. Paul can't be tentative here. Fantastic. Off that super wide stance, even catching the flowers on his way. Drains the birdie putt. Well done from a tough position off the tee.
Yeah, good putt there from Daniel, but wow, I'm very impressed with Paul. He looked like he was almost rather throwing the disc in than putting. Such a difficult stance. Luckily for him, he has a nice, arm-oriented putt. Has no damage to the card on this hole, and Paul getting a stroke on everybody with that nice birdie 3.
Here we see hole 13, a 75-meter par 3, presenting itself as a straight shot between these 2 trees, although players will have a variety of options on both the forehand and backhand. You see the fairway sloping right to left as well as softly downwards, with that OB road lining the left side. That is really the biggest danger to avoid. As a result, a lot of players like a slightly overstable disc on the forehand angle, try to ensure that they end right. Otherwise, a backhand putter or mid-range flipped up to flat plays well too. We get a chase guard check-in with Jesse Nieminen.
A really good hole for him, going with that slow disc, slightly stable forehand, and you can just see the consistency there. Jesse is playing an amazing round like right now, just really tracking down some of our leaders. Let's see if they can do the same on this hole. Paul going with more of a flex shot here, trying to keep it left.
And smooth delivery, great control of the speed as he is known to do. And he sneaks right up into a bullseye. That will be a stress-free birdie here on one of the shortest par 3s. Jakub as well, playing that overstable forehand line, and catches a brutal skip and roll.
Yeah, that's just a horrible reaction off the ground. His shot wasn't looking that different compared to Paul's, for example. And I'm sure he was expecting to be, maybe not parked, but definitely inside the circle. As Daniel is sneaking a shot through the trees. This is almost a little bit unfair what we're seeing on this hole. Jakub throwing a great shot and being OB.
And those 2 shots speak volumes about the sport of disc golf. Truly a roller coaster of an experience. Lauri with a very strong shot up into the bullseye as well. The crowd giving tons of energy, incredible enthusiasm from the locals here in Copenhagen.
Yeah, even, you have a great crowd when one of the guys is wearing a dinosaur suit on a pretty warm day. And Jakub there just unfortunately missing low. That is going to be a tough bogey to swallow, I'm sure.
And Daniel, snaking his way through the tree, finds the birdie to the delight of the spectators. How do you think having that crowd support impacts your mentality during the round, Elias?
Man, I think it's as positive as you make it to be, you know. If you're having a bad round, that can really cheer you up. If you're having a good round, you can feed off that crowd's energy. And I'm positive that at least 90, if 95, if not every single player in the field is feeling that energy. As we're moving on to hole number 14, another very Valby Parken kind of par 4. You're throwing through a gap off the tee into an open field. Try to throw something straight a little bit left off the tee. And from there you have another spike hyzer over the trees, this time with the backhand. Rarely ever do we see somebody playing through the low gap. It's always high, up and above. Try to crash the green at the correct time. It really takes a lot of creativity or imagination to imagine your line over those trees.
We see Paul with a strong-looking scorecard, 3 birdies in a row coming into this hole 14. With a good positional shot there, exactly where you want to be to get that spike hyzer into the green. And it's just such a narrow entrance. We saw from the drone shot the width between those 2 rows of trees. You have to be really precise on a very creative shot. Daniel there catches the only tree you're really trying to miss and sits down center fairway.
And Lauri, very good shot for him. He likes those hard thrown drivers, or actually I'm not sure whether he likes them, but I like the way he throws them. Seems very consistent. A little bit low this time, but he will still have a chance for the birdie from there. And Jakub, with that slight anhyzer release with a stable disc, takes a weird bounce off the tree, but once again he might still have a chance to get up and down from there. Just needs more power.
Daniel really tight to that tree in front of him, still trying to push his way to the green from way back. And an incredible shot curling up into the green from well over 100 meters, completely blind, pushes every angle that he can, and fantastic scramble from Daniel. Jakub also placing the spike hyzer in. We will see Lauri's attempt now.
Just trying to drop it at the right time. The line looks pretty decent. Let's see where the disc ends up. And he did actually fade out a little bit early, catching the left side trees, rolling back a little bit. He's gonna have an outside the circle look from pretty far out. And let's see Paul, can he make it drop at the correct time? And most definitely yes, that's gonna be no stress for his 4th birdie in a row.
Fantastic stuff. We see Paul's very professional composure, veteran of the game with tons of experience battling for podium positions, just in the zone right now. We go to Daniel. Fantastic birdie there from an unideal tee shot. Well done to secure that. Paul as well in for his birdie.
Yeah, this is a good birdie to get. Once again, it's not the most rare hole to birdie. 29% of the field getting one, but this one is actually playing above par on average. One of those 4 holes that did during this round number 2.
Here's a hole that plays slightly under par. Hole 15, a long par 3. Between this tunnel of trees on both sides, players will most often be shaping a soft flex, likely a hyzer flip potentially, and really just trying to land flat. Very commonly players will make it to the end of the tunnel but skip left or right, increasing the difficulty of their putt. This one is tough to get but available in the nice weather especially.
Let's check Jesse Nieminen on the chase card. He's continuing his hot round with that nice forehand anhyzer. Gonna be well within putting distance there. Just 8 meters for the birdie. Let's see if he can get it. And yes, left side corner pocket. He's not happy with it, but I'm sure he's happy with his score right now.
And we go to Paul. And nose up hyzer Elias, but doesn't get the flip he needs to push straight. He will fade left well into those trees, I think effectively taking birdie out of play. Daniel, really strong thrower of the disc both ways. We see him here shaping his backhand just beautifully down the middle, clear the whole way.
Super good shot there. I feel like this is kind of the perfect hole for Daniel's hard-thrown fairway driver. Really likes to rip on those, you know, in between drivers, kind of between a fairway and a distance. And Lauri here, a little bit on the right side, not quite getting the love from the bush. He will have a longer look. And let's see, I'm expecting Jakub to go with that slight overstable flex shot.
And he finds the turn. There's that late stability you touched on, and fantastic management of the distance, just 4 or 5 meters away. Really well done, playing to his strengths, especially. We see Paul's scramble here, giving this a soft Annie delivery to the green. And just like that, he'll be left with a short par putt. Lauri off one knee. Or both, rather.
And just wide to the right. That's going to be another par for him. Let's see if Jakub can get the birdie here. Would really help with him going into the final round. He's not really near the lead right now, but -4 during this round. He can still build on that. If he can birdie the last 3 holes, he can end up in very solid -7.
Daniel as well, in with the putt. He himself is putting together a small birdie streak. We go to Paul's par putt. And good stuff. On hole 15, the average putting distance was still only 4.6 meters. So a lot of players were, either for their birdies or pars, getting themselves close. And I think this is a slight differentiator for some of the field.
Moving on to another very birdieable hole, hole number 16. Par 4, 180 meters. Really the only important thing off the tee is hit this gap. You can hit it with any disc in your bag, any shot pretty much in your bag. I believe we're gonna see even a forehand roller from Paul Ulibarri on this hole. But once you're off through the gap, you're gonna have a fully open approach to the green that really presents its only difficulty by sloping a little bit from right to left. Let's see what Jesse does on this hole.
Jesse is so smooth with the forehand angles. Gets that effortless distance up the fairway. Offering as well, I like playing more to the left side of the fairway so you can swing in another left to right shaping shot. It neutralizes the hill a little bit of the green. And we'll see Jesse here on the second.
Yeah, not really the ideal approach. He would really like to be parked from where his drive was. And now he's having a difficult putt towards downhill. But he's going to do his signature stepper, I think. Left to right wind, potentially having to put it a little bit high. And look at that, perfectly in the middle. Great putt.
Yeah, incredible composure looking downhill there, knowing the round he's already put together continues to string together the birdies and push our leaders. Daniel there not making it out of the initial gap. It really is no wider than 3 or so meters. Might look quite big on camera, but in person, this is a slightly stressful tee shot, and Jakub has done well to pierce out that late stability, helping him stay clear into center fairway.
Yeah, good shot there. This is really the kind of shot that if you hit it good, you're going to be out of the gap. But if you're a little bit late or a little bit early, you're going to hit some trees. And this is the forehand roller I was expecting. Really interesting play. I think Ulibarri maybe just being the most comfortable with that shot and realizing that he doesn't need a lot of distance off the tee.
And if you enjoyed some of his practice round with KJ, saw a couple of those local line forehand rollers, some influence perhaps from the Danish local. We go now to Daniel, looking to make progress here out of the woods. And such a tough feeling there when you're trying to play safe and roll out, hitting first available again. This one will have some power behind it, I think.
Though that's gonna be... Oh no, he just dodged the bushes. I was so worried about that one cut rolling into the right side bushes, but he will have a chance for the bogey still. Let's see, Paul. Open forehand here, about 100 meters left to go. But he's short, he's well short, about 13 meters.
Lauri as well playing the forehand hyzer, neutralizing the dangers of that slope that might present on a backhand approach. Lauri's done well up into the circle. Daniel as well with a lot of distance left, which you see here. He pumps a big throw up there and curls up in time. Finally, he's up there on the green, looking to make that putt. Jakub as well.
Just with a normal overstable forehand, going with his justice. I know that because I watched his In the Bag that was published on MDG Media's channel just a few days ago. Go check it out if you're interested. Let's see if Paul can hit a big putt here. No, a little bit hesitant maybe with that downhill grade behind the basket.
Yeah, and if he is aware of the scores, I mean, he has to know he's at least a few strokes ahead of the players on this card. I think not taking on too much risk towards the end of a solid round where he's currently tied for first. Jakub in for the birdie. Nicely done. As Daniel here, I believe, putting for his bogey after those woes in the woods. But did what he could after that.
Yeah, tough bogey. I'm sure he's not going to be fully happy with it, especially having a great round one. You know, Daniel talking about how he has had historically very good rounds on this course. This is not going to be one of those, but for him, he will have a great chance in the final round again.
Here we see hole 17, an 89-meter par 3. Players will be throwing over this tree line and trying to throw a spike hyzer, likely backhand, although forehand also possible, into this mound green. That a very high flag offering players a representation of where to aim, and a fun hole that a lot of players can attack. Actually has a unique statistic of being the highest percent of fairway hits off the tee at 94%. So a lot of players are giving themselves putting opportunities.
That's a decent shot from Jesse there. Another chase card check-in, of course. This is a very important putt for him. If he misses, he's going to have a lengthy comebacker, but of course he does not miss 2 outside the circle putts in a row. Jesse Nieminen's putt is absolutely on fire right now.
What a fantastic feeling when the throws are good, or at least good enough, as well as the putting being on. We are seeing Jesse igniting here in round 2. As Jakub looks to make his play to the green, I think a touch long. A lot of players do seem to find some open windows, though, from the tree line's edge if they go a bit long. We'll see what he's left with and take a look at Lauri's shot here. See if he can manage the distance a little bit tighter.
Nice line there. Yeah, perfectly a little bit short of the hill. That's kind of what you want to do to minimize any chance of a roll away or a weird skip. Let's see if Paul can do a similar thing here. Nice looking line out of the hand. Probably wants to swing it a little bit more left than what it's doing. And just hitting the hillside. He's going to have another circle, inside the circle look for the birdie.
And I really like the new basket placement. This mound, even if you do spike it right by the pin, very rare that anyone will really park this hole. So regardless of how good of a shot you throw, you'll be left with a slight tester of a putt. And Daniel with a great delivery there as well into the hill's edge. And as I mentioned, Jakub finds some sort of window out from the rough. That spin putt of his very reliable on slightly awkward angles. He's able to still generate the force, and that's well done.
Yeah, I think Jakub probably having one of the best putts from that situation, that low release with a slight nose up and a lot of spin, as Paul has made a good putt, keeping that inside of the circle putting percentage up. And we have a chance for the star frame here. Lauri, good putt as well, and Daniel with no more than 4.5, maybe 5 meters to this basket.
And Daniel, good for it as well. Our lead card joining the 51% of players finding the birdie.
And moving on to the finishing hole of the course, hole number 18. Hole number 18, it's kind of tempting to go for a longer shot than you need. You really don't need a lot of distance off the tee. Just put it straight with, let's say, 70 or 80 meters of distance. That would be plenty enough. Then on the second shot, you need to get a lot of distance. Throw your hardest shot with a nice glidey distance driver. Get yourself inbounds and set yourself up with either a small turnover with a backhand or a nice hyzer forehand. Don't go too long on the green, as there is OB though.
As well as on this tee shot, we continue to follow Jesse in his scorching hot round. And he put himself in a good position here for the second shot, likely going to be playing a full hyzer out to the right and then swinging back into the fairway.
Showing off some pretty good distance. He's not really known for his backhand throwing, but he has good power on the backhand. And only having an approach disc approach from that position, showing off how long that second shot was. And from there, Jesse will actually have a putt to go 13 under on the round. 12 under, of course, if he misses. But he's not gonna miss. His putt is so dialed in right now. That's the new course record, 13 under. Incredible round.
And such a testament. I mean, if you've been following his start to the season overseas, we've seen him incorporating a lot more backhands and really successfully into his game. Always known as a forehand specialist, he's proving this year he has all the tools, and amazing to see his game develop in real time. We see Jakub there pushing it a little bit straight. Although he's safe, he'll be, I think, obstructed on the second shot. Lauri looking to fade before those trees. And that's a pretty prime position there.
Yeah, good shot there. Lauri was going for the short zone like I was talking about on this hole. You can also do what Jesse did off the tee, so go a little bit further. Looks like Paul is kind of going for the short one as well, challenging the left side OB, but he will be in prime position now.
I think this tee shot kind of tricks a lot of players into throwing a hyzer when a straight shot really doesn't give you much worse of a look, and sometimes will even improve your position on the second, even if it leaves you a bit further. I think the hyzer's the only real way to bring in the danger. We see Jakub playing with the angles here over OB the entire way, but fades back well in time and very solid distance from that position.
And let's see, Paul Ulibarri showing that experience, distance. He gets good spin on the disc. Maybe not the fastest of arm speeds, but that's a good way down there and should be a manageable approach, at least for a good chance for the birdie. As Lauri is throwing a long shot, he has probably no more than 75 or 80 meters left for the approach.
That shot was honestly huge. It's really hard to tell in this wide open field without any major landmarks, but Lauri just really got a hold of that disc, and Daniel as well, flipping the cameraman. These guys are throwing enormous drives. I think even pushing that 160, 170 range there. Really good stuff. We'll leave them an open look into the green. We go to Jakub here, looking to find the forehand here, playing the width and trying to swing it into the green past these late trees.
And that's a pretty good job of it. He's going to be no more than 11 meters away. Paul trying to do the same. The forehand here is the most common route if you have it. just shaping really nice for the approach. He's going to be a little bit short, but also a look for the putt, especially with his slow putt. Not going to go too far if he misses.
Lauri as well. So far up there, he's able to disc down a little bit and plays that forehand entrance to the green. Slides into the circle. Daniel just effortless, wide open, given how much distance he had on the second shot. And fantastic, just really smooth. Plays straight to Daniel's game there, that shot. As we see Paul from circle 2.
To go 10 under twice in a row, and he has done it. Incredible putt. Look at the speed control. I wish we get another angle of this putt, because he put it good 1 or 2 meters above the basket and just let it drop in. No slow-mo from that. Let's see if Jakub can do the same. Very good putt. More direct, more risky, but he's confident enough to make that.
And man, that's how you know these guys are professionals. On the elevated basket, longer distance putts, full crowd. And you see here the top athletes this weekend performing and putting on a show for the spectators on 18. Great basket to do so. As Daniel as well puts himself in, that is a star frame for our lead card on 18.
Really well done, and looking at the back nine of these guys, everybody played quite solid. You know, we had that 5 under back on 3 of the guys, and Paul Ulibarri even going 6 under. And that's going to put him 20 under in total. Just 1 stroke back of Jesse Nieminen. And we're going to have also young player, 16 years old, Eetu Tuominen on our lead card. And 4th player will be Niklas Anttila. Thank you, Connor. That was such a great round to watch.
Absolutely, and thank you to all of our viewers who join us for this incredible coverage. We appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to support it, you can like, comment, subscribe, or check us out on Patreon. Make sure to join us for the 3rd and final round to see who will be crowned your next Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe champion. We'll see you there.